First contact deception. The Calarian survey ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Sol system, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Captain Ryvan Teleris stood at the bridge viewport, his iridescent scales shifting colors with anticipation. After centuries of searching, they had finally found a potential solution to their species' genetic degradation. Preliminary scans complete, Captain, announced First Officer Zara Nixis, her tentacle-like sensory appendages waving gently as she analyzed the data. Third planet shows signs of primitive civilization. Radio waves, basic satellite network, fossil fuel emissions. Ryvan nodded, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. The Calarians had detected unusual energy signatures from this region of space, signatures that matched ancient legends of a cure for their species' affliction. Finding only a primitive civilization was disappointing. Launch stealth probes, he ordered. Standard first contact proto-dash. A massive energy surge interrupted his command. Alarms blared across the bridge as dozens of vessels simply appeared around them, materializing from what seemed like empty space. Their design was unlike anything in Calarian records, angular, almost primitive-looking, yet radiating power readings that shouldn't have been possible. Impossible, Zara whispered. Our sensors detect no stealth technology, yet they. Unidentified vessel, a transmission cut through their communications. This is Admiral Helena Blackwood of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have entered restricted space. Power down your systems and prepare for inspection. Ryvan's scales shifted to a pale blue of confusion. This level of technology shouldn't exist here. Their intelligence suggested a species barely reaching for their own moon, not one capable of hiding an entire defense fleet. We mean no harm, Ryvan transmitted back. We are the Calarians, seeking aid for our dying species. There was a pause before the response came. Your weapons and scanning systems are still active, Captain. Power them down now, or we will consider this a hostile action. Before Ryvan could comply, a smaller vessel approached their ship. His sensor officer reported in panic, Captain, their energy readings, they're using technology that shouldn't exist for another 1,000 years. The revelation hit Ryvan like a physical blow. Either their understanding of technological progression was fundamentally flawed, or they've been hiding, he murmured. The primitive civilization is a facade. Admiral Blackwood's image appeared on their main screen, her expression stern but not unkind. Captain Ryvan, I appreciate your compliance. Now, about your species' condition, we've been expecting you. The words sent a chill through the entire bridge crew. Humans had been expecting them. But how? A boarding party materialized directly onto their bridge. Another supposedly impossible feat leading them was a tall woman with silver-streaked black hair, wearing what appeared to be a simple uniform that Ryvan's instruments couldn't scan. I'm Commander Diana Steele, she announced. And yes, Captain, Earth is far more than we appear to be. We've been watching your species for some time, monitoring your genetic crisis. We may be able to help, but first, we need to discuss why you're really here. As Ryvan's crew was escorted to the human flagship, he couldn't help but notice the casual display of technologies that defied explanation. What appeared to be simple metal corridors contained energy signatures that made their sensors malfunction. Even the artificial gravity felt different, more refined than anything the Calarians had developed. In the flagship's conference room, Admiral Blackwood waited with several other human officials. The wall behind them displayed a real-time hologram of Earth, but something about the image seemed wrong. Ryvan's scientific officer, Kenna Voss, suddenly gasped. The continents, she whispered. They're in a pattern that matches our most ancient star charts. But that's impossible unless Earth has been here far longer than any of you imagined, Admiral Blackwood finished. You're legends of an ancient world that held the key to your species' survival. They weren't just legends, Captain Ryvan. They were memories, passed down through countless generations. As the implications sank in, Riven realized they hadn't discovered a primitive civilization at all. They had stumbled upon something far more significant, perhaps the oldest surviving civilization in the galaxy, one that had chosen to hide in plain sight. But before they could process this revelation, emergency alarms began blaring throughout the human fleet. Commander Steele's expression hardened as she received a transmission. "Admiral," she reported, "long-range sensors have detected multiple vessels entering the system. Energy signatures match the Nexary Empire." The humans exchanged knowing looks, and Admiral Blackwood's expression turned grim. "Well, Captain Riven, it seems you're about to witness firsthand why Earth has maintained its disguise for so long. And perhaps why we're still here when so many other ancient civilizations have fallen." The conference room's holographic display shifted to show massive warships entering the system, the Nexary, a species known for consuming entire civilizations. But rather than panic, the humans simply began executing what appeared to be long-prepared protocols. Earth's facade was about to be lifted, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Hidden Legacy. Admiral Blackwood strode through the holographic command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha, her movements precise and deliberate. Around her, what had appeared to be simple monitoring equipment transformed, revealing sophisticated battle interfaces that made the Calarian technology look primitive by comparison. "Initiative Protocol Omega," she commanded. "Authorization Blackwood 7 Alpha Prime." The station shuddered as hidden panels slid away, revealing weapon systems that had lain dormant for centuries. Riven watched in awe as the entire Sol system seemed to awaken. Asteroids shifted, revealing massive defense platforms. The surface of Mars rippled as ancient installations activated. "Your civilization," Kenna Voss breathed, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "The archaeological evidence suggested you'd only achieved spaceflight within the last century." Commander Steele smiled grimly. "We've become very good at hiding our tracks, Ms. Voss. Necessity is a remarkable teacher." The approaching Nexary fleet filled the holographic display, 15 capital ships and their support vessels, a force that would have overwhelmed most civilizations. But the humans showed no sign of concern. "Admiral," a young officer called out, "Lunar Base Artemis reports quantum arrays are fully charged. Mars defense grid is online. Jupiter Station confirms gravitational weapon systems are ready." Riven's mandibles clicked in shock. Gravitational weapons? That's theoretical technology. "Theoretical to you, perhaps," Admiral Blackwood replied. "To us, it's rather vintage. Lieutenant Park, show our guests why Earth has survived this long." The holographic display expanded, revealing the true scope of Earth's defensive network. What had appeared to be simple weather satellites were actually part of an interconnected web of defensive systems. The moon's surface rippled as massive weapon arrays emerged from hidden bunkers. But it was what happened next that truly stunned the Calarians. "Initiating solar shield," Lieutenant Park announced. The surface of the sun itself seemed to flicker as ancient technology, hidden within the star's corona, activated. "Impossible," Kenna whispered. "You've built structures within your star." "Built?" Commander Steele shook her head. "We inherited them. Earth isn't just an ancient world, Ms. Voss. It's one of the last surviving outposts of what you call the precursor civilization." The revelation hit Riven like a physical blow. The precursors, legendary beings who had supposedly seeded the galaxy with life before vanishing millions of years ago. Every spacefaring race had found traces of their technology, but none had ever managed to fully understand or replicate it. "The genetic degradation affecting your species," Admiral Blackwood continued, her eyes fixed on the approaching Nexary fleet. "It's not a natural occurrence. It's the result of tampering by the same forces that drove the precursors into hiding. Forces that the Nexary serve, whether they know it or not." Before Riven could process this information, the Nexary fleet launched their first attack. Energy beams capable of destroying planets lanced toward Earth, only to be absorbed by shields that shouldn't have existed. Return fire, Blackwood ordered calmly. Artemis Base, you may proceed. The surface of the moon glowed as ancient weapons activated. Beams of pure gravitational force reached out, twisting space itself around the Nexary ships. 3 capital ships simply ceased to exist, crushed into singularities by forces beyond Calarian understanding. Your people, Riven managed, you're not just using precursor technology. You are the precursors. Some of us, Commander Steele confirmed. We mixed with the primitive humans we found here, helping them evolve while hiding from our enemies. Earth became our last fortress, disguised as an emerging civilization. The battle continued above them, but Riven barely noticed. His mind raced with the implications. The cure his people sought, it wasn't just about genetics. It was about reclaiming knowledge that had been deliberately erased from the galaxy. Admiral, Lieutenant Park interrupted urgently. We're detecting quantum signatures from the Nexary fleet. They're calling for reinforcements. Blackwood's expression hardened. Then it's time. Commander Steele, activate the Lazarus Protocol. Captain Riven, your people are about to witness why Earth has remained hidden for so long. The galaxy's about to remember what it was forced to forget. As klaxons blared throughout the station, Riven watched in awe as more hidden systems activated. Earth's defenses had been impressive, but he sensed they were about to witness something far more significant. The true power of the precursors, of humanity, was about to be unveiled, and with it, perhaps the salvation of his own species. The real question was, what price would the galaxy pay for awakening this sleeping giant? Warriors of the past. The Lazarus Protocol transformed the Sol system before Riven's eyes. Jupiter's great red spot shimmered and dissolved, revealing a massive space station that dwarfed anything the Calarians had ever built. Saturn's rings shifted, thousands of hidden warships emerging from what had appeared to be simple ice and rock. By the first stars, Kenna breathed, her scientific instruments overwhelmed by the energy signatures. You've hidden an entire war fleet in plain sight. Not just a fleet, Commander Steele corrected, her eyes reflecting the golden light of activating systems. The last fleet of the old empire. The ships that survived the Great Purge. The Nexary reinforcements began arriving, hundreds of ships tearing holes in reality as they emerged from quantum space. Their combined firepower could have cracked a planet. But Admiral Blackwood remained unmoved. Captain Riven, she said, turning to face the Calarian commander. Your people have fragments of the true history in your legends. Tell me, what do you know of the War of Falling Stars? Riven's scales shifted to a deep purple of recognition. A myth from our oldest texts. A time when the stars themselves were weapons, when entire systems could be. His voice trailed off as understanding dawned. Could be moved, Blackwood finished. Lieutenant Park, initiate stellar array sequence. The sun flickered again, but this time the effect spread outward. Hidden technology, older than most civilizations, awakened throughout the system. The very fabric of space began to vibrate with energies that shouldn't have existed. Commander Steele, Blackwood ordered, you have tactical command. Show them why humanity survived the purge. The battle that followed defied description. Human ships, their primitive appearance melting away to reveal technology beyond imagination, engaged the Nexary fleet. But it wasn't just their weapons that proved superior, it was their tactics, honed by millions of years of warfare. Multiple quantum signatures detected, Lieutenant Park reported. They're bringing in their entire battle fleet. Good, Steele responded, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. Admiral, requesting permission to activate the Jupiter array. Blackwood nodded grimly. Granted. All personnel, initiate gravitational shielding. The space around Jupiter, distorted as ancient machinery, hidden within the gas giant itself, came to life. The Nexary fleet, caught in the sudden gravitational flux, found their quantum drives useless. Their ships, for all their destructive power, were trapped. Your people, Riven said to Commander Steele, "You've been preparing for this moment all along." The Primitive Civilization Act was a necessity, she finished. After the purge, after we lost most of our empire to the enemy, we knew we needed time. Time to rebuild, to prepare. Earth became our fortress, hiding in plain sight until we were ready. The battle continued above them, but it was clear the Nexari were outmatched. Their weapons, powerful enough to shatter worlds, seemed insignificant against technology that could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. "Admiral," Lieutenant Park called out suddenly, "we're detecting energy signatures from the Nexari command ship. They're trying to send a signal beyond the galaxy." Blackwood's expression turned to stone. "So, they are connected to the enemy after all." "Commander Steele, execute Protocol Omega." "Captain Riven, you're about to see why the enemy tried to erase us from history." The solar shield array activated fully, and for a moment, the sun itself seemed to pause. Then, in a display of power that defied comprehension, a wave of pure energy erupted from the star, carefully controlled by technology that had waited eons to be used again. The Nexari fleet didn't even have time to react. Their ships, their weapons, their very existence was simply undone. Not destroyed, not torn apart, but erased from reality itself. As the energy wave dissipated, Kenna's instruments finally began functioning again. "That power," she whispered. "You didn't just destroy them. You removed them from the timeline itself." "Time mechanics," Commander Steele explained. "The last and greatest weapon of our people. The reason the enemy feared us enough to try to destroy all evidence we ever existed." But before they could process this revelation, new alarms blared. The signal from the Nexari command ship had gotten through. Something was responding, something vast and ancient and terrible. "Admiral," Lieutenant Park's voice shook slightly. "Long-range sensors are detecting, it's impossible. Something's coming. Something big." Blackwood and Steele exchanged looks of grim determination. "Well," the Admiral said, "it seems the enemy remembers us after all. Captain Riven, your people came seeking a cure. Instead, you found yourselves in the middle of a war that never really ended." As new signals began appearing throughout the system, Riven realized that everything, the Calarian genetic degradation, the Nexari attacks, even humanity's long hiding, had been leading to this moment. The true war, the one that had reshaped the galaxy itself, was about to begin again. And Earth, ancient Earth, was ready. Guardians of knowledge. The void between galaxies rippled as something ancient stirred. On Earth Defense Station Alpha, every sensor and detection system screamed warnings at frequencies that shouldn't have existed. Lieutenant Park's hands trembled as she interpreted the readings. "Admiral," she reported, "the quantum disturbance, it's larger than anything in our records. Even the ancient ones." Admiral Blackwood stood before the holographic display, her face illuminated by the swirling data streams. "So, they've finally decided to show themselves. Commander Steele, initiate Archive Protocol 7. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in chambers hidden from even the most advanced scanning technology, ancient machinery hummed to life. The ground itself seemed to pulse with forgotten energies. "Your people," Riven addressed Commander Steele, his scales shifting to a deep blue of revelation. "The genetic degradation affecting my species, the attacks by the Nexari, it wasn't random, was it?" "No," Steele confirmed, her eyes fixed on the approaching anomaly. "Your people, the Calarians, you were once part of us. Part of the ancient alliance before the enemy forced us into hiding." Kenna Voss, the Calarian science officer, stumbled back as if physically struck. "The missing sequences in our genetic code, they weren't damaged. They were locked away. To protect you," Admiral Blackwood explained. "When the enemy came, when they nearly destroyed everything we had built, we had to make a choice. We couldn't save everyone, but we could preserve the knowledge, hide it within the very DNA of our allies." The station shuddered as Earth's defensive systems reached full power. The sun flickered as ancient technology channeled its energies in ways that defied conventional physics. But even this display of power seemed insignificant compared to what was emerging from the void. "It's massive," Lieutenant Park whispered. The holographic display struggled to represent the scale of what they were seeing, a construct of dark energy and quantum fields that dwarfed solar systems. "The enemy's true form," Commander Steele said grimly. "What you're seeing is why we had to hide, why we had to fragment our civilization and scatter our knowledge across 1,000 species." Suddenly, the construct spoke. Not in words or signals, but in pulses of quantum energy that the station's computers struggled to translate. "Precursors," the message boomed. "You have hidden long enough. The experiment ends now." "Experiment?" Riven questioned, but his words were drowned out by new alarms. "Multiple quantum breaches detected," Lieutenant Park reported. They're rewriting local space-time." The fabric of reality around Earth rippled as the enemy attempted to unmake the very laws of physics that protected the solar system. But humanity's defenses held, ancient technology struggling against forces that could reshape galaxies. "Now," Admiral Blackwood commanded. "Commander Steele, activate the genetic key." Commander Steele pressed her hand against a seemingly ordinary panel. Energy surged through the station, through Earth's hidden networks, and out into space. The Calarians aboard the station gasped as something within their very cells responded. "What's happening?" Kenna demanded, watching in awe as her own body began to glow with internal light. "We're unlocking what was hidden," Steele explained. "Your people weren't just allies, Kenna. You were our fail-safe. Every fragment of genetic degradation in your species holds a piece of the key to our greatest weapon." The light spreading through the Calarians reached out, connecting with similar emanations appearing throughout the galaxy. Thousands of species, all supposedly unrelated, all carrying fragments of humanity's hidden legacy, began to resonate in harmony. "The enemy tried to erase us from history," Admiral Blackwood said, her voice firm. "They thought by scattering our civilization, by forcing us into hiding, they had won. They didn't realize we had turned their victory into our greatest strategy." The quantum construct recoiled as the combined genetic keys activated, revealing something that had been hidden since the beginning of the war, a weapon woven into the very fabric of life itself. But before they could activate this final defense, the enemy launched its own desperate assault. Reality itself began to tear as the final battle for not just Earth, but the very nature of existence, began. The true test of humanity's ancient plan was about to begin. The ancient truth. Reality buckled under the enemy's assault. Space itself seemed to scream as fundamental forces warred against each other. But aboard Earth Defense Station Alpha, Admiral Blackwood stood unmoved, her eyes fixed on the quantum construct that threatened to unmake everything. "All stations, execute final protocol," she commanded. Throughout the solar system, humanity's last hidden weapons activated. The sun pulsed with controlled power, Jupiter's hidden arrays reached full capacity, and beneath Earth's surface, machinery older than most civilizations hummed to life. The Calarians' genetic activation had spread across the galaxy, awakening dormant sequences in thousands of species. Each fragment contained not just knowledge, but power, the key to a weapon so vast it had been hidden in plain sight within the building blocks of life itself. "The pattern," Kenna Voss gasped, her scientific mind finally grasping the full scope of humanity's plan. "Life itself, you didn't just seed the galaxy. You turned all of evolution into a weapon." Commander Steele nodded grimly. "Not a weapon of destruction, but of creation. The enemy seeks to unmake reality, to impose their version of order. We chose a different path." The quantum construct's assault intensified. "Your resistance is futile," it boomed. "Reality must be corrected. Chaos must be contained. You never understood, did you?" Admiral Blackwood addressed the enemy directly. "Why we chose to hide on Earth, why we fragmented our civilization, why we scattered our knowledge across so many species. She smiled. We weren't running. We were evolving. Lieutenant Park's console erupted with new data. Admiral, the genetic resonance is reaching critical levels. All species are synchronized. Now, Blackwood commanded. Activate the life engine. Power surged through the awakened genetic networks. Every living thing in the galaxy, from the smallest microbe to the most advanced sentient species, began to pulse with ancient energy. The enemy's construct recoiled as reality itself seemed to shift. What you're witnessing, Commander Steele explained to the awestruck Calarians, is why Earth had to appear primitive. We weren't just hiding technology, we were nurturing life itself, guiding evolution across the galaxy to create this moment. The enemy's assault faltered as the life engine reached full power. Their attempt to impose rigid order on reality met the combined force of billions of years of evolution, of countless species all carrying fragments of humanity's legacy. Impossible, the construct boomed. You cannot control such chaos. Control. Admiral Blackwood laughed. We never sought to control it. We became part of it. Lieutenant Park, full power to all systems. Show them what humanity has become. The combined power of Earth's ancient technology and the galaxy-wide genetic network created something new, a quantum field that didn't fight against the enemy's power but absorbed it, transformed it, evolved it. The greatest weapon, Riven realized, his scales shifting in patterns of understanding, isn't destruction at all. It's life itself. The enemy's construct began to dissolve, not destroyed but transformed. The rigid order they sought to impose was reshaped by the chaotic beauty of evolution. Their power, meant to unmake reality, instead became part of it. As the battle ended, as the galaxy itself seemed to exhale, Admiral Blackwood turned to the Calarians. Your genetic degradation will heal now. All species carrying our legacy will remember what they once were, what we all were together. And humanity? Kenna asked. Will you hide again? No, Commander Steele answered. That time is past. The galaxy is ready to remember its true history. Earth wasn't just another world, it was the cradle of life itself, the heart of an empire that chose to fragment rather than fall, to evolve rather than dominate. The holographic displays showed the aftermath of their victory, thousands of worlds where awakened species were discovering their true heritage, remembering their connection to Earth and to each other. We are all connected, Admiral Blackwood declared. Not just through genetics or technology, but through the greatest force in the universe, life's endless capacity to adapt, to change, to evolve. That was the truth the enemy could never accept, the power they could never truly defeat. As the ancient defense systems powered down, as Earth's long disguise finally fell away, Riven looked out at the galaxy with new eyes. The primitive world they had discovered was actually the oldest of all civilizations, and its greatest achievement wasn't the technology they had hidden, but the web of life they had woven throughout the cosmos. The ancient truth was finally revealed, Earth hadn't just preserved civilization, it had transformed it, seeding the galaxy with endless potential for growth and change. The future would no longer be hidden, and humanity's greatest experiment could finally bear fruit. The age of secrets was over. The age of evolution had begun.